The moment Ethan's lips brushed mine under the Napa Valley stars. I thought I'd found forever, until he vanished without a trace the next morning. By noon, I, Sebastian Carter, stood at the altar, staring into the eyes of his identical twin, Julian, who was somehow meant to take his place. The crowd's whispers grew louder, but none stung as much as the truth. I was about to marry a stranger to save face for a wedding that was never mine to choose. It began 3 months ago in San Francisco, where I worked as a graphic designer for a boutique firm. At 26, I was ambitious, creative, and perpetually single, my heart bruised from fleeting romances that never stuck. Ethan Caldwell walked into my life at a crowded art gallery opening in Soma, his smile cutting through the noise like a beacon. He was 25, a sommelier with a passion for Napa's wines, and his charm was effortless, hazel eyes that sparkled with mischief, a jawline sharp enough to carve glass, and a laugh that made my knees weak. We talked for hours, our banter flowing as easily as the Pinot Noir he poured for me. By the end of the night, he'd asked me out, and I said yes without hesitation. Our romance bloomed fast, intense, and intoxicating, like the vineyards we'd visit on weekends. Ethan introduced me to Napa's hidden gems, small wineries with oak-barreled secrets and sunsets that painted the sky in shades of fire. We'd lie on blankets in the grass, his head on my chest, dreaming of a future where we'd open our own vineyard. He proposed after 6 weeks, on a hill overlooking a sea of grapevines, his voice trembling as he slid a simple silver band onto my finger. "Sebastian, you're my home," he said. I believed him. But Ethan had secrets. He never spoke of his family, only mentioning a brother he was estranged from. I didn't push love, I thought, was enough to bridge any gap. When he suggested a lavish wedding in Napa, funded by his savings, I was swept up in the romance of it all. The guest list grew. Invitations went out to people I'd never met, and Ethan handled every detail with a fervor that felt almost desperate. I chalked it up to excitement. I was wrong. The rehearsal dinner was a blur of clinking glasses and strangers' faces at a sprawling vineyard estate. Ethan was magnetic, charming guests with stories of our whirlwind love. But that night, as we lay in our hotel room, he was restless, his fingers tracing patterns on my arm. "Promise me you'll always trust me," he whispered. I nodded, my heart full, unaware that those would be his last words to me. The next morning, he was gone. His suit was still in the closet, his phone on the nightstand, but Ethan had vanished. I searched the hotel, the vineyard, even the wind and jitterily drove to the venue in a panic, my heart pounding. Guests were arriving, the string quartet tuning up, and the wedding coordinator, a stern woman named Carla, was barking orders. That's when Julian appeared. Julian Caldwell was Ethan's mirror image, same hazel eyes, same sharp features, same disarming smile. But where Ethan's warmth drew people in, Julian's demeanor was colder, calculated. He wore a black suit that fit him like a glove, his posture rigid as he approached me. "Sebastian," he said, voice low, "Ethan's not coming. I'm here to fix this." Before I could process his words, Carla was ushering us toward the altar, the crowd murmuring, oblivious to the chaos unfolding. "Fix this," I hissed, my voice shaking. "Where's Ethan?" Julian's jaw tightened, his eyes avoiding mine. He's gone. He asked me to step in. We can't let this wedding fall apart. I laughed. A bitter sound, thinking it was a joke. But Julian's grip on my arm was firm, and the weight of 200 expectant guests pressed down on me. The Caldwell family, I learned, was old money, their name tied to Napa's wine empire. A failed wedding would be a public scandal they couldn't afford. I stood frozen as Julian took his place beside me, the officiant beginning the ceremony. My mind screamed to run, but my feet wouldn't move. The vows I'd written for Ethan felt like ash in my mouth as I recited them to his twin. Julian's voice was steady, his eyes locked on mine, but there was no love there, only duty. The crowd cheered as we kissed. A brief, mechanical press of lips that left me hollow. After the ceremony, Julian pulled me aside, his voice urgent. Ethan ran because he couldn't face this life. He left a note, said he's sorry, but he's not coming back. My chest tightened, the ring on my finger suddenly heavy. Why you? I demanded. Julian's face softened, just for a moment. Because I owe him. And because I know what it's like to lose everything. That night, as I sat alone in the bridal suite, the weight of the day crashed over me. Ethan was gone, and I was married to his brother, a man I barely knew, bound by a lie to protect a family's reputation. But Julian's words lingered, hinting at a past I didn't understand. As I stared at the vineyard beyond the window, I knew one thing. I had to find Ethan, no matter the cost. The morning after the wedding, I woke to sunlight streaming through the hotel window, a cruel reminder of the life I thought I'd have. My phone buzzed with congratulations from guests, each message a stab to the heart. Julian sat across the room, sipping coffee, his suit from a night before still pristine, as if the chaos of yesterday hadn't touched him. Sebastian, he said, setting his cup down, we need to talk. His voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. I wanted to scream, to demand answers about Ethan, but I only nodded, my throat tight. Julian explained the Caldwell family's expectations. We were to maintain the facade of a happy marriage, at least publicly, to protect their legacy. Legacy, I snapped. This isn't 19th century England. Why should I play along? His jaw tightened. Because Ethan's disappearance isn't just about you. It's about our family's name, our business. If this leaks, we lose everything. I learned more about the Caldwells that day. They owned half of Napa's prime vineyards, their wine label a symbol of prestige. Ethan's vanishing act threatened deals, partnerships, and their carefully curated image. Julian, the older twin by 3 minutes, had always been the responsible one, cleaning up Ethan's messes. He's done this before, Julian admitted, staring at the floor. Run off when things get heavy. But this time, he went too far. I wanted to hate Julian, but there was something in his voice, regret, maybe guilt, that made me pause. He handed me Ethan's note, a crumpled scrap of paper. Sebastian, I love you, but I can't do this. I'm not who you think I am. Forgive me. The words blurred as tears stung my eyes. I crumpled the note and threw it at Julian. You knew he was struggling, and you let him propose? Let him plan this circus? Julian didn't flinch. I thought he'd changed. I thought you were different. The next week was a blur of public appearances, smiling for photos, cutting ribbons at winery events, playing the perfect couple. Julian was a natural, his charm polished. But I felt like a ghost, moving through motions while my heart screamed for Ethan. At night, I'd lie awake, replaying every moment with him, searching for clues I'd missed. His laugh, his touch, the way he'd whisper my name. Had it all been a lie? Then I found the email, buried in my inbox, sent from an anonymous account the night Ethan disappeared. Check his apartment. 324 Oak Street. SF. My pulse raced. Julian was at a board meeting, so I drove to the city alone, my hands shaking on the wheel. The apartment was a small loft, cluttered with Ethan's things, wine bottles, sketches of vineyards, a photo of us pinned to the fridge. In a drawer, I found a journal, its pages filled with his handwriting. Entries spoke of pressure, fear of disappointing his family, and a secret he couldn't share. I love Sebastian, but I'll ruin him. I'm not enough. Tears fell as I read. But one entry stopped me cold. Julian warned me. Said I'd break him. He's right. My blood boiled. Julian knew Ethan was unraveling and did nothing. I drove back to Napa, the journal clutched in my hand, ready to confront him. But when I stormed into the Caldwell estate, Julian was waiting, his face pale. You went to his place, he said. Not a question. What did you find? I threw the journal at him. You knew he was falling apart. Why didn't you stop him? Julian's eyes darkened. Because I thought he'd stay for you. I thought love would be enough. His voice cracked. And for the first time, I saw the weight he carried, years of protecting Ethan, shielding the family, sacrificing his own dreams. I'm not your enemy, Sebastian, he said. I'm trapped, just like you. That night, I couldn't sleep. Ethan's words echoed in my mind, mingling with Julian's confession. I was married to a man I didn't love, searching for one who'd left me, bound by a lie I didn't choose. But the journal hinted at something deeper, a secret Ethan couldn't face. I had to find him, not just for me, but to understand why he ran and what he was running from. The Napa Valley sun beat down as I stood outside the Caldwell winery, the journal burning a hole in my bag. Julian's words from last night, I'm trapped, just like you, gnawed at me, but I pushed them aside. I needed answers, not sympathy for a man complicit in this mess. I started digging. Ethan's journal mentioned a place called Willow Creek, a small vineyard he'd visited alone. I found on a map, a remote plot an hour north of Napa. Without telling Julian, I drove there, the road winding through hills that felt both familiar and foreign without Ethan beside me. The vineyard was modest, its owner a gruff man named Tom, who squinted when I mentioned Ethan's name. Yeah, he came by, Tom said. Kept to himself. Asked about old vines. Seemed lost. Tom's words hit hard. Ethan had been here, searching for something, maybe answers. Tom handed me a business card Ethan had left behind, from a wine consultant in Seattle. My heart raced. Could Ethan be there? I thanked Tom and sped back to Napa, my mind spinning. Seattle was a lead, but it meant leaving Julian, the winery, and the facade we'd built. I wasn't sure I could. Back at the estate, Julian was waiting, his arms crossed. You went to Willow Creek, he said, his voice tight. I didn't ask how he knew. His family's reach was long. What are you chasing? Sebastian? He's gone. I held up the business card. He was here. Julian. He's in Seattle. Maybe. I'm going. His face hardened, but his eyes betrayed something softer. Fear, maybe, or guilt. If you go, this marriage falls apart. The family won't forgive that. I laughed, sharp and bitter. This marriage is a lie. You think I care about your family's reputation? Julian stepped closer, his voice low. It's not just about reputation. There's something you don't know about Ethan. About us. He hesitated, then sighed. Ethan was in debt. Big debt. To people who don't forgive. He ran to protect you. The words landed like a punch. Debt? Ethan never mentioned money troubles. I demanded details, but Julian shook his head. It's complicated. Dangerous. Stay. Sebastian. We can figure this out together, but I couldn't stay. Not with Ethan out there, carrying a burden I didn't understand. I booked a flight to Seattle that night, leaving a note for Julian. I'm finding him. Don't follow me. Seattle was a shock after Napa's warmth, gray skies, damp air, and a city that felt like it could swallow you whole. I tracked down the consultant, a woman named Lila who worked in a sleek downtown office. She remembered Ethan, said he'd come looking for work, desperate and jumpy. He mentioned a boyfriend, she said, eyeing me. Said he didn't deserve you. My chest tightened. Did he say where he was going? Lila shook her head. He left in a hurry. Mentioned something about Vancouver. Vancouver. Another city. Another lead. I spent the night in a cheap motel. Ethan's journal open on the bed. A new entry caught my eye. I saw Dad's old ledger. The family's not what it seems. Julian knows. My blood ran cold. The Caldwells were hiding something bigger than debt. Something Ethan couldn't face. I called Julian, my hand shaking. What's in your father's ledger? I demanded. Silence stretched. Then his voice, low and strained. Don't dig. Sebastian. You won't like what you find. But I was done with warnings. Ethan was out there, and the truth, whatever it was my only way to him. I boarded a bus to Vancouver the next morning. The journal tucked close, its pages a map to the man I loved and the secrets that tore us apart. Vancouver's skyline glittered against the gray morning mist, but I felt no awe, only a gnawing urgency to find Ethan. The journal's cryptic entries about the Caldwell family's secrets fueled my resolve. But Julian's warning echoed, you won't like what you find. I didn't care. I needed the truth, and I needed Ethan. I started at a dive bar Ethan had mentioned in passing, a place called the Rusty Anchor near the waterfront. The bartender, a wiry guy named Pete, recognized Ethan's description. Yeah, he was here a week ago, Pete said, wiping down the counter. Looked rough, like he hadn't slept. Asked about boats to Alaska. Alaska? My heart sank. Ethan was running farther, faster, like a man hunted. Pete didn't know more, but he pointed me to a marina where Ethan had been seen. At the marina, a dock worker confirmed Ethan had inquired about fishing charters heading north. He paid cash. Didn't talk much, the guy said. Took a boat called Northern Star. I found the boat's schedule. Next trip was in 2 days. I bought a ticket. My savings dwindling. But I couldn't stop now. Ethan was slipping through my fingers, and the journal's hints about the Caldwell's ledger gnawed at me. What was he running from? Back at my hostel. I called Julian again. What's in the ledger? Julian? I pressed, my voice sharp. He sighed. Static crackling over the line. Our father. He made deals. Shady ones. Offshore accounts. Untraceable money. Ethan found out. Couldn't handle it. I froze. Money laundering? The Caldwell's pristine wine empire built on lies? Did you know? I asked. Julian's silence was answer enough. I try to protect him, he finally said. And you? I hung up, my mind reeling. Ethan wasn't just running from debt. He was fleeing a family legacy of corruption. The journal's final entry confirmed it. Dad's ledger proves it. They'll never let me go. I clutched the pages, my heart breaking for the man I loved, trapped by a truth too heavy to carry. The Northern Star was a weathered vessel, its captain a grizzled man named Hank. When I boarded, I showed him Ethan's photo. Seeing him, Hank grunted. Quiet guy, headed to Juneau. My pulse quickened. Juneau, Alaska, a place as remote as it gets. I spent the journey staring at the sea, the journal open in my lap. Ethan's words painted a man torn between love and fear, a man who thought leaving me was kindness. In Juneau, the trail went cold. Locals at the docks hadn't seen Ethan, and the town's small size made it hard to hide. I checked motels, bars, even a library where Ethan might have sought refuge. Nothing. Desperate, I posted a flyer with his picture, offering a reward. That night, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Stop looking. I'm safe. Let me go. It was Ethan. My hand shook as I typed back, I love you. Please come back. No reply came. I sat on a pier, the Alaskan wind biting my face, and realized the truth. Ethan wasn't just running from his family. He was running from himself, from the shame of dragging me into his world. But I wasn't ready to let go. The journal, the ledger, the secrets, they were pieces of a puzzle I had to solve. For him. For us. Juneau's icy air couldn't numb the ache in my chest. Ethan's text, stop looking. I'm safe, looped in my mind, a plea I couldn't honor. I loved him too much to let him disappear into the Alaskan wilderness. I kept searching, showing his photo to anyone who'd listen. A diner waitress, Mary, recognized him. He was here, maybe 3 days ago, she said, pouring coffee. Bought a bus ticket to Anchorage. My heart leapt another lead. I thanked her and caught the next bus, the journal tucked in my coat. Its pages now felt like a lifeline. Ethan's fears and love bleeding through every word. Anchorage was sprawling, colder, and less forgiving than Juneau. I checked hostels, shelters, anywhere Ethan might have gone. At a small coffee shop, a barista named Sam tipped me off. Your guy was here, asking about backcountry cabins. Looked like he was running from something. Sam gave me a name, Kodiak Reynolds, and I tracked it down. The owner confirmed Ethan had rented a remote cabin, paid in cash, and left no contact info. He's out there, the owner said, pointing to a map. Middle of nowhere. I rented a car and drove. The Alaskan wilderness swallowing the road. The cabin was a speck in a sea of pines, smoke curling from its chimney. My heart pounded as I knocked. The door creaked open, and there he was, Ethan, thinner, eyes hollow, but still his. Sebastian, he whispered, voice breaking. I pulled him into my arms, tears falling. Why? I choked out. Why did you run? He led me inside, The cabin sparse but warm. The ledger, he said, sitting by the fire. My dad's deals. Millions laundered through the winery. I found out last year. Tried to confront Julian, but he's in too deep. They'd never let me walk away. His hands shook as he spoke, his hazel eyes searching mine. I proposed to you because I wanted something real, but I couldn't drag you into this. I knelt before him, taking his hands. You should have told me. I would have fought with you. Ethan's laugh was bitter. You don't know these people, Seb. They'd ruin you to keep their secrets. I thought of Julian, his warnings, his duty to the family. Ethan was right. The Caldwells played for keeps. We talked for hours, the fire crackling as Ethan unraveled. He'd planned to disappear after the wedding, to shield me from his family's shadow. I love you, he said, tears streaming. But I'm poison. I cup his face, my voice firm. You're not poison. You're mine. We kissed, slow and desperate, the world fading until it was just us. But the peace didn't last. My phone buzzed Julian. They know you found him, he said, voice urgent. They're coming. Get out now. Ethan's face paled. The Caldwells weren't just a family. They were a machine, and we were in their crosshairs. Ethan's hand trembled in mine as we packed the cabin. Julian's warning echoing. They're coming. The Caldwells' reach was long. Their secrets worth protecting at any cost. We had to move. But where could we go when an empire wanted us silenced? We head north, Ethan said, his voice steadier now. Canada. Maybe. Somewhere they can't touch us. I nodded, my heart racing but resolute. I'd found him, and I wasn't letting go. We threw essentials into a backpack, clothes, the journal, a burner phone, and fled the cabin as dawn broke over the Alaskan pines. The drive was tense, Ethan's eyes scanning the rearview mirror, his fear contagious. At a gas station outside Fairbanks, Ethan told me everything. The ledger detailed decades of the Caldwells' crimes, money funneled through fake wine deals, offshore accounts tied to dangerous partners. Julian tried to shield me, Ethan said, but he's loyal to them. Always will be. My stomach churned. Julian, the man I married, was both protector and pawn, trapped like Ethan, but choosing duty over freedom. We crossed into Canada by noon, the border guard barely glancing at our IDs. In a small Yukon town, we found a motel, its neon sign flickering. Ethan collapsed onto the bed, exhausted, but I sat up, the journal open. What now? I asked. He looked at me, his hazel eyes soft. We start over. Together, my chest tightened. Hope. Fragile but real. I called Julian one last time. We're gone, I said. Tell them to leave us alone. His voice was heavy. They won't stop. Sebastian. But I'll try to hold them off. For Ethan, I hung up, unsure if I could trust him, but certain I had no choice. Ethan and I spent the night planning a new life. Maybe a small farm, far from Napa's vines and lies. Months later, we were settled in a quiet Canadian valley, a cabin of our own. Ethan's smile returned, brighter each day, as we built something honest. The Caldwells never came. Thanks to Julian's quiet maneuvering, he'd leaked just enough to the press to keep them distracted, their empire crumbling under scrutiny. Ethan's journal became our vow. No more secrets. No more running. One evening, under a sky blazing with stars, Ethan knelt before me, a new ring in his hand, a simple band, no lies attached. Sebastian Carter, he said, voice steady. Will you marry me? For real this time. Tears fell as I said yes. The weight of Napa's chaos lifting. We married in a field. Just us and a local officiant. Our love finally free. The Caldwell's empire faded from headlines. Their secrets exposed, but their grip on us gone. Julian sent a letter. Brief, but kind. Be happy. You deserve it. Ethan and I did. Building a life rooted in truth. Where love was our only legacy.